Everybody worships. The only choice we get is who or what to worship. The words of David Foster Wallace there. I saw this on a sign outside a church in Chester recently, may have been Methodist, and under the quote is the question and title of this video: who or what do you worship? Merriam-Webster definition of worship: the act of showing respect and love for a god, especially by praying with other people who believe in the same God. It could also mean excessive admiration for someone. No, David Foster Wallace, not everyone worships, not everyone believes in a deity or deities. Most people in the world do worship, but by no means everyone. So my answer to the question is nothing. I worship nothing. I don't believe in deities, and I don't feel compelled to worship people or nature either. Yeah. I won't bow my head before mighty nature. I won't bow my head to leaders or monarchs or so-called heroes or anyone. Which isn't to say I don't admire anybody. There are folks living and dead that I have a good deal of respect for, but I'm not a worshipper. So people do have a choice beyond the narrow one put forward by Mr. Foster Wallace. It is only when men begin to worship that they begin to grow, said Calvin Coolidge. That isn't a unique or original perspective there. Why is reverence for a god linked with growth? I'm sure there are many eloquent theologians who could explain this to me. I've heard a great many pretty speeches down the years, but I submit that worship can be detrimental. I would say that a person giving their love, respect and devotion to an imaginary creator is wasting time and energy, even if the true believer is gaining a deep emotional satisfaction from the act itself. Still a waste of time. Time could be better spent doing something more practical, I would suggest. And I would add that the act can become an indulgence with a great many people, an excuse perhaps to wallow in a servile condition, offering up humble prayers. I'm a miserable, unworthy sinner, Lord, and yet you forgive all my sins. Praise be. Praise be. There are surely certain mental states, patterns of thinking and behaviour which are damaging, which can and do stunt personal, emotional and intellectual growth. But it isn't exclusively religious believers in the supernatural, who fall into patterns of worship, of course. Tyrants and dictators have been worshipped by their followers, as have various cult leaders and their ideas. The idea of an infallible human, an infallible leader, is ridiculous to me, as it is to many others, but this idea has existed in various parts of the world at one time or another. The master who cannot err. Totalitarian regimes of the 20th century, fascist, communist, tried to deify their leaders with varying degrees of success. If you've ever watched a North Korea documentary and listened to a Korean soldier or even a tour guide talk about the nation's founder, Kim Il-sung, it sounds like they're talking about the Almighty. No praise is too much for the beloved father, eternal president. But it's not just dead presidents or kings or queens. Many folks have been known to indulge in hero worship, or even over-the-top devotion to a favoured celebrity. It's well to remember that we, all peoples, are but flawed creatures, imperfect beings. Not a single person, alive or dead, is worthy of your worship.